I'd like to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled Committee Board 5 meeting here at Christ the King High School cafeteria. For those of you at home that are watching the live streaming, we appreciate you paying attention to what's going on, and we understand why you may or may not have come to the meeting. So, would you please rise and salute the flag to my right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As you recall, board members, at the last meeting, we had a tabling motion which takes precedence. So the first order of business tonight is the tabling motion on the report of the Executive Committee regarding the Fresh Pond Road Festival. At this point in time, the Executive Committee is withdrawing that motion, and therefore will close the tabling procedure. Thank you. The next order of business is the public forum. Do we have that sign-in sheet for the public forum? Again, speakers, you had to be pre-registered or registered before the meeting started. No more than 3 minutes, no foul language, no personal attacks. Richie? So the first person to speak tonight under the public forum, and that's the microphone on the floor, is Kathy Massey. Kathy?
I promise this is the last time that you're going to hear about this, but it's a very important issue. I'm sure by now everyone's aware how hard that Cures has been advocating for the containerization of waste coming from Long Island for many years. The bill supporting their efforts was finally moved out of committee in the Senate for a floor vote. However, in the Assembly, it still is in the Environmental Conservation Committee. In 2015, I believe, Steve Englebright, Assemblyman, was appointed chair of that committee. His environmental priorities included advancing policy and budgetary initiatives to improve the quality of our air and waters, open space, preservation, recycling, and sustainability. Cures is appealing to Assemblyman Albright to move this bill, number A03269, out of committee. These open rail cars of waste are affecting the environment and our quality of life. Cures is asking each of us and everyone here, if you haven't already signed one of these postcards, which John and Brian passed out the last couple of meetings to support their efforts, I'm going to ask that you do so and return the signed card to Kathy O'Leary, who is going to get them to Cures. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. The next speaker is Natalie Ponce. Natalie, are you here? Natalie Ponce, not here. Next speaker is Aaron Pierce, Jackie, and Jeffrey.
Just tilt it up. Okay, perfect. Hi. More? Okay. Good evening. So we're here today because we're applying for a liquor license for a little cafe that we just purchased in Ridgewood. And the cafe is 350 square feet. We want to do an all-day service and provide a spot for the neighborhood that functions as part cafe, part bar, and part restaurant. We want to open at 7 in the morning and offer sort of quick, casual counter service by day and a little more intimate setting by night. We're inspired by French cafe and Italian bakery, which are little tapas bars in Venice that provide a casual, atmospheric environment for the enjoyment of eating and drinking. And we have a lot of experience in food and beverage combined. Jeff has been working in kitchens as a chef for 25 years, and I've been working in service for about 15 years. We have been wanting to do this for a long time. We've finally got the opportunity.
So tell them again the name of the business and the location.
Absolutely. So we're working on a name. We haven't finalized it yet. Our LLC is Table 1 for 2, and the business is located in Ridgewood on Forest and Catalpa.
Okay. So I know there was one question that comes up from several of our board members. There are 4 establishments at that address, and the question was, is that permitted, or that you had to get a special license to participate in the 4 businesses at that location?
We purchased the cafe from someone else. It was already functioning as a cafe and bar.
I might be able to speak to that. The landlord, Kermit Westergaard, who's the owner of the building, there are 4 businesses in there. One is a pizzeria being built out. Another one is an operating bar called Sundown with a full liquor license. The third business is a wine store. And then this will be, again, it's about as small as you can be and still be a functional restaurant and bar at 350 square feet, single egress. There is work being done at Sundown. They are expanding into the basement area of their space. I'm the attorney of record. My name's Aaron Pierce. Okay. That's why I'm here today. But obviously, Table 1 for 2 is not attached in any way to the other businesses, but the Alt 1 that I spoke at length because I understood this was a community concern. The Alt 1 that's applied for at Sundown has been fully approved by the Department of Buildings. So when the DOB comes in, they look at the building in its entirety, and the 4 businesses that are there are legal and approved, and the Alt 1 has been also, the plans there have been approved for expansion into the basement.
So you would liken it to a mini mall, so to speak? Because the malls have multiple liquor license establishments functioning in malls.
That is true in that there will be 2 with the addition, as long as there's no objection here, of another liquor license. There will be 2 in this building. The pizza store is not one, and the retail store is just what's called an off-premise license. It's just for shoppers come and buy and leave. So not quite at the mall level, but yes, there is multiple businesses in one building.
Thank you very much. Yes, Peggy O'Kane. On microphone, Peggy. You have to use the microphone. Then you can wipe it down afterwards. Unless you threw the wipes away.
I assume that faces the Forest Avenue, not Catalpa, because there is a Catalpa sign.
6838 Forest Avenue.
Yeah, I know, but it can cover a multitude of sins. It doesn't face onto Catalpa. That's all I'm asking.
Correct.
Fine.
They are not the corner business. Yes, that's correct. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to temporarily suspend the public forum to introduce our Borough President, Sharon Lee.
I'm saying goodbye, as I promised. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I don't mean to interrupt your regularly scheduled program, but I kind of do. As the chairman mentioned, Sharon Lee, as you may know, I have had the honor and the privilege to serve as your acting borough president for the last 2 months and change, and it's been great. It's actually very fun. Anybody who's I don't knock anybody who wants this job. It really is a lot of fun. And really fulfilling, too. But I am here because I wanted to say farewell, as I promised a few months ago when I first came before you to introduce myself to some of you or to say hello again to some of you. Promised that I'd be back in March, and here I am. But since I have the mic in front of me, I'd like to remind you of two things, and things that you already know, but I want to make sure that they're at the forefront because there's a lot going on right now in our borough. Number one, we have a special election coming up. Despite all the uncertainties that are happening right now, it is still on, and it's still scheduled for March 24. We will elect our next borough president into office, and that's March 24. Special election begins this Saturday. And so if you're interested in doing that, you'll look up where your early voting, excuse me, thank you. Early voting begins this Saturday. Thanks for that check. And then March 24 is the actual special election. And as we know, if we don't vote, we just don't matter. We just don't count. So March 24, what are we going to do? Yes. And then, of course, in April, if you are so inclined, we've got a presidential primary. What are we going to do? And then a few weeks later in June, we've got a statewide primary where we will again elect our borough president and some of our state legislators. What are we going to do in June? Primary vote. And a few months later after that, this is all in 2020. In November, we've got the general election where we will vote for our president, our borough president, and of course our state legislators. And what are we going to do? Vote. Yes. So consider yourself reminded. Thank you in advance for voting. The second thing I would be remiss if I did not mention is the census. We cannot overemphasize how important and critical the census is. I firmly believe that the future of New York is Queens. I firmly believe that the future of New York is Queens. But our future is counting on being counted, and that we matter and that we're visible. And so it is just critically important. Fortunately, had nothing to do with COVID-19 or any of the things that are before us right now. But this is the first time that it will be online. And the way that they're strategizing the census count, it begins tomorrow. The count begins tomorrow. And this is the first time it's going to be online. And for the first few weeks, we'll have an opportunity to fill out that questionnaire online, whether it be from your tablet, from your phone, from the comfort of your home. You can be wearing your PJs. Whatever you do, you can do it from the privacy of your home or wherever you are. And then after a few weeks, they're going to track us as to whether we are filling out the census. And if we don't, they're going to come to our doors. I don't know about you. I don't like opening my doors to anybody. And so that's actually extra motivation for me to fill out that census as soon as I can online to prevent somebody knocking on my door and disrupting my day or evening. But all jokes aside, as you know, it is determinant of the next 10 years, whether you're 1 day old or whether you're 150 years old, whether you arrived yesterday, or whether you're fifth generation Queens resident. Everyone needs to be counted. It's census.gov, but we actually urge you to come to queensbp.org. And so those are the two things that I wanted to put before you, front and center on your mind, in addition to all the great things on the agenda. But thank you for your indulgence, for allowing me to just say hello and farewell, as I promised.
You're going to be here till December 31st?
Not necessarily. I plan to move out of the way as soon as we elect our borough president and they are sworn into office, because they certainly won't have a lot of time before their June primary. So they're going to want to hit the ground running, I'm sure, whoever that is. Yes?
Again, the special election
Yes.
elects a borough president
Yes.
for the period of March 24th through December 31st, or next November, next year? How long is this person going to be in office? December 31st of next year, this year. Okay. So the special election is for a person to be the borough president from sometime after March 24th, when they get sworn in, to December 31st, 2020. And in November, or is it June? In June, that's a primary. So when is the election for the borough president starting January 1st, 2021? November, okay? So you're going to have, this year we'll have 2 borough presidents, 3 borough presidents, and then we'll be voting for one to serve until December 31st. In November, we'll be voting for another that starts January 1st.
And then you'll get to vote twice more next year during the primary and the presidential. But our future really is at stake. I don't have to tell you that. Everyone here, every single person in here I know cares deeply, deeply about the strength of our borough, of our families, of our neighborhoods, and our communities. But I will tell you that Queens, we are not getting our fair share. We are just getting shortchanged compared to the rest of the city. These are facts. These are facts. The Borough Board just voted a few weeks ago on the Queens budget priorities for fiscal year 2021. And we submitted it to the mayor and the city council. But there are 3 areas in particular, and I do want to leave you with this because these are facts, and I'd like to equip you with some of the facts that we crunched the numbers at Borough Hall, trying to see, is it really that unfair? And indulge me for just a moment because I think this is important. There are 3 areas that were of deep concern to the Borough Board. Number 1 is our schools. When you look at New York City, hello, council member. When you look at New York City and New York City school kids, all New York City school kids, a third of New York City school kids are in Queens. Yet, a third of them. Yet, the city spends the least amount of dollars per pupil for a Queens kid. Think about that. So that means the city is spending less dollars on a Queens kid than on a Bronx kid, a Brooklyn kid, a Manhattan kid, a Staten Island kid. Facts. That's number 1 of 3. Number 2 of 3 are our elders, our seniors. Same situation there. Of all of New York City elders, a third of New York City's elders live in Queens. Yet, the city spends the least amount of dollars per capita on our elders here in Queens than it does on a senior from Brooklyn, senior from the Bronx, senior in Manhattan, senior in Staten Island. The least. These are facts. And the third main concern, which is more acute in recent days or recent weeks, are our hospitals. Queens, we are the largest borough by land, a very close second by population, although, I wouldn't put my bets on that, but we'll see how the count turns out this year. But we have only 9 acute care hospitals in the borough of Queens. And we are the least bedded, meaning we are underbedded. We have the least number of beds per 1,000 residents here in Queens than in any other borough. And we are overburdened already by the closures of, I believe it was like 4 hospitals just in the last decade. And so those 3 areas, schools, seniors, hospitals, and many other areas, but those are the most glaring disparities, glaring areas of us getting shortchanged relative to the rest of the areas of the city of New York. So I leave you with that because all the more reason that we are counted, all the more reason that we're visible in the count, that we're visible in every single election coming up this year and next. And so I humbly remind you of all these things. And of course, thank you very much for this deep honor to serve you over the last several months. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And did you tell us where you're going to be after you leave office?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Good luck. Okay, we'll go back to our first order of business with the public forum. The next speaker is Rob Ismailar, Parkable. You can feel free to wipe that microphone if you like. The wipe is there.
Good evening, dear board members, Chairperson, dear guests. First of all, I would like to thank you for accepting our request to be here today to present. I'm speaking on behalf of the company called Parkable. We're coming from Brooklyn. And to introduce our company, our mobile application platform, we were writing to all community boards around New York City. And actually, you guys were the first to say yes and to invite us to this meeting. So the idea with Parkable is trying to create a peer-to-peer, community-based mobile application for drivers in the cities like New York City. So two drivers can exchange free street parking spot between each other. So how it works is, as soon as a driver finds a parking spot in the street, we are talking about not meter, just a free parking spot. As soon as the driver finds a parking in the street, he parks and the application detects its location and asks the driver to share his departure time in the future. And his parking spot with the departure time in the future would be shown as available spot in the future to all other drivers who are coming to this neighborhood in search of parking. So it's very easy, and the drivers can chat with each other, communicate with each other, and they can request, pre-request parking spots in the areas they're going in the future beforehand. So we came to the idea of the application not by chance. We're also drivers in New York City, and we know how frustrating it is, how stressful it is to find a parking spot for most of the drivers who don't have their driveways, who don't have enough funds to pay for the parking, etc. So if you look at some statistics, it's very interesting. For example, New Yorkers spend more than 100 hours a year just in search of parking. And parking in the street is also one of the major causes of traffic congestion in cities like New York. Every 3 cars in 10 cars we see in our streets, they're not just moving or going anywhere, they're just cruising around in search of parking. So helping drivers to find parking spot can also help to decrease traffic congestion in our streets. So the reason we try to raise the idea of our application, our mobile platform to the boards is just to see what kind of interaction we can get with the board. We also address the same issue to Department of Transportation of the New York City, and we just got some general answers. And in one of the conversations over the phone, the representative of the DOT told us that they're not interested at the moment because they consider themselves as a revenue-bringing organization, revenue-bringing branch. So they're concerned only about metered parking, not free street parking. But we're confident that in the nearest future we'll also find some common points of touch and try to communicate our idea to them. But the reason we're here today is just to know, to first of all introduce our idea. We're just getting our first users, early adopters of the application around New York City, and also to find out what are the best ways to interact with the community boards.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker is Jason Ho.
Good evening. My name is Jason Ho. I recently moved my place of business, Sangkung, to 6575 Traffic Avenue. And there's just some issues I want to bring up with you guys. Maybe you guys already know about it. But during my time there's been like 5 or 6 incidents of illegal dumping of just piles of wood and possibly sometimes furniture and bedding. So there's also the issue of garbage and debris that collects under the vehicles that's parked on Woodbine and Palmetto Street, between Woodbine and Palmetto. And you just can't clean it because you can't get into the cars. And I assume all that dumping is because the place looks like an abandoned lot because of all the garbage. And the vehicles that don't move there are kind of contributing to it as well, because I believe there are a couple instances of abandoned vehicles there, I think. And then, it's just something I wanted to bring up with you guys and see if we can work on a solution, because I was told this was something that the community board could help with. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
So let's clarify. You're looking for street sweeping, alternate side parking? in that
Yeah,
area?
something akin to that.
Okay. So Peggy O'Kane is in that area. Peggy, would you like to address it?
Hello, I'm your neighbor on Woodbine and Traffic,
Yes.
right on the corner. We already have alternate on the west side of Traffic Avenue.
Yeah, I noticed.
Because that's residential. The other side is M1. We finally got that big construction thing moved away that was abandoned there for a year. A machine that had to cost $100,000 was just left in the street for at least a year. There was a car there that my neighbor, by Googling it on Google Maps, was able to prove that it had been in the same exact spot for a complete year.
So what about the...
So it needs cleaning. And there is, right across the street from me, there is a regular dump out location right at the end of the traffic of the MTA, which the garbage people come and clean regularly, but people persist in dumping. It's not as bad as it was years ago, but it's not nice.
Yes, it's probably because we've been cleaning it.
So you support the gentleman's request, and you could articulate that to the Sanitation Services Committee?
Sure. It's been a mess since I've lived, 50 years that I've lived there.
Okay.
It's not as bad as it was, but there are still people who've come to do everything that's illegal, immoral, or fattening on Traffic Avenue.
John Meyer?
I'm just wondering, since you are in business there, have you put in any kind of security cameras?
Yeah, we did.
Would you be willing to share those with enforcement?
Yeah, if they ever asked, yeah.
Okay. So it's something to also
Okay.
recommend that,
So
that
Peggy,
you would be open to them.
Yeah, it's just that there's nobody to keep like an
So
eye
Peg-
on the cameras like 24/7, and they'll come in like at midnight when everyone's asleep and then just dump a pile of wood and just dry off.
Yeah, but if we can capture license plates, that can
All
help
right.
us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but
Let's-
we need some kind
Let's
of
get the
recording of this.
request. Peggy, you could do the request to the committee, and if you could, I guess you time out on your recordings, right?
I believe it's like about 2 weeks. Yeah.
All right, so at some
Yeah.
point in time, we may ask you for discs that we could share with
Okay,
the
sure, no
people.
problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. The next speaker is Tiara Utley. And that tilts down, Tiara, so it's...
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tiara Utley. I'm a recruiter from Forestdale. It's a foster care and preventive agency. I'm just here tonight we're actively recruiting foster parents to service the children and the families that we work with. And I wanted to share that our next orientation is tomorrow, Thursday, March 12th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And our open house is Friday, March 20th, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you're interested in becoming a foster parent, or if you know anyone that's interested in becoming a foster parent, you can reach out to me, or you can go to Forestdale website, forestdaleinc.org. Thank you.
The next speaker is Robert Kibrada.
Hi, good evening, distinguished community board, 5 members, guests, and chairperson. I'm here referenced by Neil C.G. Gianelli, and this is in regards to residents of Ridgewood request speed reduction devices on Forest Avenue between Putnam Avenue and Palmetto Street. This is a very congested area where the streets are very narrow. Within the last, I'm going to say, 3 months, as of the new year, I've seen cars either go around buses parked at the red light and almost running kids over, to kill cars speeding at 50 to 60 miles an hour on Forest Avenue in front of the school, which is IS 93. There's a lot of foot traffic, pedestrian and children. I walk my daughter there every morning, and this is a constant problem. What I'm requesting is for the New York City Transportation Department to start an assessment of the traffic that is going on there, the speed limit that is being introduced in the area by cars that are speeding, whether it be male or female, it doesn't matter. And this is all happening within the span of probably 1 or 2 blocks of the school. Every school has speed bumps. Everywhere I go in Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, you name it, these schools have within the radius of 1 block, they have speed bumps. Why? Because this is a deterrent for cars to slow down completely to almost a halt. Because if you speed over them, these cars are going to get damaged. So speed bumps are a very great deterrent for people who actually speed all over the place. They did put a camera up, a speed camera, which opposed to 25 speed limit, but the cameras just do a minimal job because people just don't care. The speed bumps will greatly reduce the speed of this traffic going by in front of the school and potentially could prevent any one of our children. I'm pretty sure any people who have children here and are in the neighborhood, they know what I'm talking about. So if you have children, just please understand where I'm coming from. I'm just a concerned parent, and this is just my request, and I'm putting it out to you guys. And I thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the problems we have, if it's a bus route, they usually turn down requests for speed bumps. So, but the Transportation Committee, if you give us something, a request in writing, we'll turn it over to the committee, and they'll review it at their next meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker is Tony Di Piazza.
Thank you, board members, for considering, I guess, our street festival one more time. I'm not going to bore you with the history of the street festival again. Just to reiterate that in 25 years, we never had an incident. As a matter of fact, this year, the 104th Precinct commander already sent in a letter to the Community Assistance Office, basically a letter of no objection because there were no incidents last year. At the last meeting, there was a request made for some details of our finances, which we have submitted to the board. But just to give you a brief rundown, we made in profits like $28,000 last year, out of which we gave $1,000 each to 5 community groups. And they were the 104th Precinct Council, Glendale Housing, St. Aloysius Food Pantry, Glendale Civilian Patrol, and the Ridgewood Community Assistance Office. In addition to that, we also gave money to local groups, and we also, as promised, opened up a Community Assistance Office for Italians on Merrill Avenue, where we provide assistance in matters of Social Security, Medicare, and so on. The only thing, I mean, we ask that you support this. At the last meeting, there were other street festivals that were approved, which really, the objection to our street festival was always that the traffic congestion. Yet, I mean, the other festivals, without naming them, they have no parallel streets in them. They create havoc in their community, but yet there is no objection. But at the Italian Street Festival, we have Traffic Avenue, we have Forest Avenue, 60th Place, and yet there's objection. So I certainly hope that you will reconsider this and approve it like all the other street festivals in Ridgewood. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joe Rayner. Oh.
He's not here yet.
Yes, on the question. Hold on, Tony.
Yeah. Tony, I have a question. Tony, last year the board approved, and by the way, another objection. I'm here 12 years. Another objection was the amount of days. That was a key. Last year the board approved it. The year before the board did not approve it. And in my 12 years, there were a couple of years they did not approve it. But you've had the affair for the four days all the time, no matter whether, it doesn't seem,
The only
why are we
objection-
voting? That's my question.
And thank you for that. The only objection that the last, I would say, year 2, 3, 4, 5 was they reduced the number of days because of the construction on Metro and Fresh Pond. But naturally, that's over, and that is why the community didn't see no problem with approving the full 4-day street festival last year, and I hope you'll do the same this year.
Right, but the years we disapproved it, it still went on.
Yes.
Okay.
So my question is, what are we voting on?
That's for later on, not for the
Okay,
public
sorry.
forum. Okay? Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
No? Next speaker? Joe Rayner.
He's not here yet.
Not here? Then he loses his turn. Because with that, we're closing the public forum. And we'll go to the next item of business is the chairperson's report. I happen to be the chairperson, Vincent Arcuri. Thank you all again for coming. I'd like to introduce the staff present: Kathy O'Leary, Laura Mulvihill, our district manager, Gary Giordano. Representing the borough president is Joe Nasarino. Joe, you have anything to say? Okay. Mr. Holden, I'm sure you'll wait a little bit while I introduce police officers Barish and Perez and Sanad and Sergeant Raymond.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good
I'm
evening,
Officer
everyone.
Sanad.
Glad to see everyone. Officer Barish, Sergeant Ryman as well. Quickly, I'll just go through these stats for the past 28 days. For the past 28 days, rape, we're up by 1 case. Robberies, we're up by 4. Felony assaults, up by 12. Burglaries, up by 2. Grand larcenies, up by 17. Grand larceny of the auto, we are down by 2. We do have a robbery condition going on, mainly in Ridgewood, bordering the Bushwick area. Also, there are tires and rims going around. Later in the evening, early mornings, a group of individuals going around to specifically Honda Civics and Accords. Yep, Honda Accords and Honda Civics, and they're removing the tires and rims, putting the vehicle up on cinder blocks. Be mindful of that. As usual, don't leave any property in the cars. That's driving our grand larcenies also. Remove electronics, cell phones, iPads, any of that stuff. Don't leave in the car overnight. And as always, be sure to lock your car. I know it's silly we have to say this, but people do leave their car unlocked with the keys in it, basically inviting anyone to take their car. So all stuff that would be prevented on those terms.
Also, tomorrow there's a blood drive at the 104 precinct from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Anybody that would like to donate? I'm sorry. Thursday, tomorrow.
Yep.
From 12 p.m. to
Yep.
6 p.m. Yep.
At the precinct, and that's about it. That's all. Go ahead.
Microphone, please.
We're going to. It's.
Hold on.
We'll talk, but the date's going to change to the tap. It went back.
It went back.
Okay.
It went from the 2nd to the 9th, back to the 2nd.
Okay. I got you. April 2nd, I'll just confirm again. We'll be doing basically like an open house at the precinct where the captain will just be holding a meeting. If anyone has any questions or concerns, this is a good time to come voice your concerns, questions, opening up the precinct, open to everyone, 6:30, April 2nd. Come down to the precinct, we'll have a little meeting, captain will give you information, answer any questions, any issues that we have going on as of late, anything new by that time. April 2nd, 6:30.
Donald, it's not on? Yeah, it's on.
It's important that all of us try to get there because she expressed a concern that she would like to put the faces with the voices and the people that she speaks to. And it's very hard to do unless you get over to the meeting and say hello. It's more or less a meet and greet, and I'm from the neighborhood. This is Mary Ann. This is Joanne. This is Bob. This way, when you speak to her, she knows who she's talking to.
Okay. Sergeant, anything?
No, I think it was very well covered by Officer Barris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Ryan.
Officer Perez? Nothing? Thank you. Thank you very much for doing what you've been doing, but we need more. Need you to do more. So in precedence, council member, I guess we have to introduce the mayor's office. What's her name again? Yeah? Jessica Schabowski. I'm sorry. And then you're next, Bob.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Schabowski, and I'm the Queensborough Director for the Mayor's Office. In terms of our COVID-19 response, I'd just like to highlight that you can text COVID to 692-692 in order to get regular updates on the coronavirus. The Mayor's Office is providing support to small businesses who can demonstrate that their business has gone down as a result of the coronavirus. We are organizing multiple task forces to target not only the wide city response, but also the response that we have towards our senior citizens and our most vulnerable populations. We remind everybody to wash your hands, cover your nose and mouth, and to please stay home if you are sick. As of earlier today, our case total was 53 confirmed cases, and I'd just like to remind everyone that that is since the first of this month, so over 11 days. We have 53 confirmed cases. We are still relatively containing the situation. And again, I'd just like to emphasize that everybody should continue to remain civically engaged, participate in the census as it starts March 12th, and participate in the special election as it starts this weekend. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julio Salazar from Native Velasquez office. Julio.
Good evening, Community Board 5. Again, Julio Salazar, Congress Member, Nydia Velasquez office. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me an opportunity to give the community an update. Just one piece that I wanted to share, really two pieces. The member from the outset of the coronavirus now pandemic, the member has been advocating together with her partners in the House of Representatives and as the chairwoman of the House on Small Business, the House Small Business Committee, advocating for additional resources for the SBA, the Small Business Administration, to provide emergency loans that are very accessible to small business owners, so who have been impacted by the coronavirus, so they can access those funds, those emergency loans, to cover any needs that they might have at the moment. That's something that the member has been pushing for in her committee, has eventually made its way to the House and was passed in the House and is now on its way to the Senate. So that's a provision that she had advocated for together with her colleagues, the New York delegation, to secure that extra funding in the face of the coronavirus. Additionally, I wanted to just provide a small update to the board regarding the Wyckoff Avenue reconstruction project, which we are working with the community board, our district manager, to get an update from the Department of Design and Construction on this project, which has been stalled for some time. So we're just working on some logistics as to when we can get all the agencies involved. It's a multi-agency project, inter-borough, into Community Board 4 Brooklyn and into Community Board 5 Queens. So there's a lot of hands on this project, a lot of agencies, a lot of people working on this. So we're going to get, hopefully, an update on that project, if not at the end of this month, We're trying to work out the logistics with the agencies. We're ready to meet with them. I know the community board has expressed that they're ready to meet with them, so we're just waiting on the agencies that are taking on that project, and we'll have an update on the Wyckoff Avenue reconstruction project. But other than that, again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. District Manager, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Bob Holden.
Thank you, Vinny, and thank you all for, again, volunteering, coming out, and doing your part. Like I said last night, we had the MTA workshop. Virus aside, people came out, and I think about 120, 130 people were there, and it was a very productive workshop as opposed to a presentation. So a workshop is one where you can go over the bus routes and so forth and so on, and give your 2 cents, and they write it down. And we had the chairman, Pat Foy, was there, so it was interesting that he showed up because he knows that people are upset, certainly in this part of Queens, and we don't want our buses taken away. We want them improved, and that's what I think he got the message. So he did admit that they started off rather poorly, I would say, to put it mildly. The coronavirus, we had an emergency meeting again today in the council, and by the way, the city council feels that we have to do a lot more. In fact, we don't have enough tests, obviously. People who want to get tested can't get tested. And until we get to that point, we can have at least a handle on it. The city council is actually talking about closing offices, the council offices, to try to stem the. I don't think that will help so much as to. We have to talk about larger gatherings. I did voice my opinion that we should keep staff there because people come in, and they have to have information. Some people, they're going to switch our phones if we have to, if we get to that point, to our personal cell phones, which that'll work too, but we need to be there in the offices to not only answer calls, but to meet with constituents. But there is talk about this virus spreading to the point where we'll have to shut down, and even community boards might have to shut down. We're not there yet. But if the numbers keep coming in, if it keeps multiplying, we could be there. So just be aware. If you, like the mayor's office said, if you have a cold, don't go out. And if you feel that it's a non-essential meeting, don't go. And some people feel that sporting events should be canceled. Because I was at the Garden the other night for the Ranger game. They lost, but. It came into my mind that this is a large gathering, 15,000 people or more, and it does cause concern that this will spread the virus even much faster. So the City Council is talking about a lot of things. We're taking it very seriously, and we have to show leadership here. And certainly my office will answer any questions, but we're trying to desperately get more testing kits and get more testing sites. So that's what we're working on. Just want to go over quickly. I know, Vinny, you have a large agenda, but I visited the homeless shelter at 7816 on Friday, along with Andy Hevesy, Assemblyman Hevesy, and reps from Mike Miller's office and Joe Adablo's office. And I just want to tell you what I saw. And you make your own assumptions. We walk in, and there's a security station and a metal detector. Security station to the right, metal detector center, and we took the stairs. The stairs, I feel, not that wide, and walked up to the second floor and ran into another security station. Walked down, saw the dormitories, 10 people to a room, kind of tight, I feel. For the space they have, everything seems a little tight. The men are on top of one another. They didn't show us any rooms with men in it, which was interesting. And walk to the other side of the hallway, another security station, complete with monitors and a security guard. Same thing on the third floor, identical. A lot of meeting rooms, conference rooms. But to me, I felt this is not a place to live. This looked more like a minimum security jail. And that's the feeling I got, and that's the honest truth that I'm telling you. If anybody walks in there, that's the feeling you get. And that's what concerns me. This is not a place to live or to stay or to feel comfortable. I understand that. But it doesn't have to feel like a halfway house or a jail. And it does, folks. It does. And I'm concerned. Just the mentality of building this kind of facility to house 200 men. They say they're going to get jobs and they're going to be employable. They're protected inside that facility with a heavy security force. But what about outside and the community? And this is why I don't know. I think they said that they'll have 48 security guards in there. Or not at one time, but a force of 48. I'm just wondering, why does it have to look like a jail? And this is what concerns me. Now, I feel like, let's talk about the temporary C of O that they've gotten, which I think was coerced, that somebody, DHS possibly, put pressure on the Department of Buildings, but there's still outstanding safety concerns. There was supposed to be a stairwell built on the outside to get the C of O. They didn't do it. They said they're going to do it, but it's not built. And it seems to me, and there's a bunch of other concerns, safety concerns that the community had, rightfully complained about. And suddenly, many of the safety concerns were not addressed when they got to TCO. They can only put up to 50 people in there for a reason, because it's not really, the safety concerns were not addressed, period. So they went around and did it the back end, got state approval, they said, but I've asked for an investigation as to how this happened, how they got a TCO with safety concerns, 3 at least outstanding safety concerns that weren't addressed. Now, I understand people need shelter, but this is not, to me, again, this is not a shelter. This is a minimum security jail, like I mentioned before, but another issue is going around the building department process, which I feel they definitely did. And I'll just mention a couple of other things. I've asked the precinct to address a lot of the commercial overnights in the area, the illegal parking that we see on a regular basis. They have started to respond to a lot of it. But as the precinct is concerned, I'm very upset about the Sacred Heart incident that we all know about. That's totally, totally unacceptable. And I will not take, it was just a kind of a mix-up. No, it wasn't. And it's often, and Vinny also mentioned something, that we need a procedure with parochial schools especially, because the public schools have a safety procedure in place. The parochial schools, as we witness, they really don't. And if Central Command, that's the people that actually send out the cars from the precinct or in the neighborhood, when they hear a school is involved and there's a safety concern that somebody, a suspicious man outside a school, that should automatically result in an emergency or a police car direct route within minutes, not hours. And there are 2 things that happened with Sacred Heart that I don't like. And I did see the video, by the way, that day. I went into Sacred Heart and looked at the video, and that gentleman was upset at the door because he wasn't getting an answer that he thought he wanted. He apparently was told he wanted directions, but he didn't get the answer, and he stayed, and he banged on, and once the door was closed, he banged on the door with some kind of metal pipe or a pipe. Certainly the secretary felt that they need to call 911. When that happens, the police car should have been there. So we're working, I've spoken to the commanding officer. I did speak to Borough Command North. They feel also that things weren't done that should have been done. So we're going to try to correct it. But it gets to the bottom line with the precinct has too many jobs. And if anybody listens to the scandal, you know that they're holding many jobs. One unit is holding many, many jobs. That's unacceptable, especially when children are concerned. So I think if this was, like I said, a test, the precinct failed miserably on that test. And I will not sugarcoat it, and nobody else should. And there's no other excuses that there was some kind of 53 with injuries. That was 2 hours later, folks, on the initial call, that the 53 with injuries. So that's not an excuse. So the ball was dropped, but we'll try to rectify that it doesn't happen again. Roof scammers are around again. We've had a call to the office that somebody attempted, and here's what happens. They come up to you, they say, I'm in the area. The contractor he'll have a truck there. He looks like a roofer, and he'll come up to an individual, mostly seniors, and say, I'm in the area, I finished early, I have all my equipment. I noticed from your neighbor's roof that you need work on that roof. You're going to have a leak. If you don't have it now, you'll have it soon. And if I have all my equipment here, can I go up there now? I'll take care of it within an hour or so and save you thousands of dollars. And they charge usually a couple of thousand, $2,000, $3,000 for less than an hour's work. And it's not really work. It's a scam. Why they pick on seniors? Because seniors don't climb up on the roof to check the work. So it's a very, very good scam, and most of the time they get away with it. So just be aware, spread that word around. We'll do the same. We also have Social Security scammers, as you know, and so forth. So I won't get into all the rest of the things, but I will say that the Cooper Avenue fight is not over. I just want to make people aware that it's not over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Massey.
Councilman, with respect to Cooper Avenue, we spoke with Nicholas Orlock, who is the day-to-day person who handles operations at the site. He works for West Hab, and when we spoke to him, we told him that many of the gentlemen, his clients, say that they're from the Bronx, and he responded by saying, well, they have Queens history. Now, what exactly does that mean, Queens history? As far as I'm concerned, Rikers is a part of Queens, so we directly said, are they coming from Rikers? And he said, well, I'll tell you, no one comes directly. There's an intake process, blah, blah, blah. So the answer is yes, they're using it as a halfway house.
Okay, we're doing committee work again.
We have a committee for this?
No, but we're doing committee
No,
work.
but Vinny, this is legit.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
this is legit.
this is the speaking portion.
The single most important thing we've had to deal with as a community board in the past 5 years.
Right, and by the way, I'm on the Criminal Justice Committee, and I mentioned this a number of times in print, that it was said that 40% of the individuals leaving jails go into the homeless shelter system. So that's definitely a concern. For a neighborhood like ours to have 200 men in one spot, and like I've been saying, we should have smaller shelters, faith-based, is what the mayor recently rediscovered. When I mentioned it 2 years ago to him, it wasn't feasible. Now it is, when the mayor mentions it.
Okay, one more question?
A quick question, Bob. I understand there are residents living there. I don't know, but I'm told that there are
He just said that.
Yes. Well, I wanted to
There's
ask.
23 men in there now.
Yes. Did you actually see any of them going to the bathroom, coming in, coming out?
No.
Where were they hiding?
We saw one man standing in the cafeteria who they said was a success story because he already is leaving the facility and he's going to a residence to get a permanent apartment.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Bob. I'd like to recognize Kevin Wisniewski from Andy Hevesey's office. John.
Good evening, everyone. Kevin Wisniewski with Assemblyman Hevesey's office. Just two quick updates for you guys tonight. Number one, the Assemblyman is in Albany at the moment, and they have entered kind of the final phases of budget negotiations. And the senses we're getting at this moment is that the state is ready to move on our rent supplement for the homelessness program. So as we move forward on that, we'll be keeping the board involved and just updated on our day-to-day. And then I just want to quickly touch base on everything going on with the coronavirus. We've been monitoring this very closely. We've been in touch with the governor's office on a daily basis. So I just want to say if there's anything you think the state can do better in this pandemic, just give us a call and we'll make sure they flag it. And then I just want to echo what Jessica from the mayor's office said about texting COVID to 692-692 to stay updated. So thanks again. Feel free to call us with any concerns and stay safe.
Thank you. Leslie Hareb from Brian Bonwell's office. Yes.
May I ask a quick question?
Okay. What's the question? Point it away from the microphone.
Turn all the way back.
Thank you. Leslie Reb, please.
Everyone gets it wrong. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Just really quickly from Brian's office, we're having our annual breast cancer screening that's completely free. Please call 877-628-9090. I will say, however, that we are partnering with Maspeth Federal Bank, which you all know, for a few events, including our Rain Barrel event. But they have postponed a lot of events due to the virus. So the Rain Barrel event pickup, which was supposed to be on the 25th, where you can reserve a free Rain Barrel, I think we have a few left for everyone that, if anyone wants to call, has been postponed. So just spread the word. You can still call and reserve one. But the dates for that and the breast cancer screening event is kind of TBD. So feel free to call our office for any questions or concerns. We're always happy to help. Thank you.
Allison Cummings from Catherine Nolan's office.
Slow clap from Kevin. There you go. Good evening, everyone. I know there's a lot going on. I'm not going to rehash all of this. If you'd like to get in touch with the district office, you know how. It's 718-784-3194. I'm there. Call me. Aside from that, no real announcements. I have newsletters for anyone who doesn't receive them at their residence who would like one from the Assemblywoman. Thanks.
Carmen Torres from Assemblymember Miller's office.
Good evening, everybody. As you will know, the Assemblyman is up in Albany also. And down a couple of months from now, he will be hosting, if everything goes well, 3 events. April 26th, recycling event in Forest Park. May 30th, the Rain Barrel. And May 31st, the mammography event is in front of our office. Any questions, call our office, 718-805-0950. Thank you for having me here.
Are you ready? Okay, so as a special guest and because of what's going on, we have Che Null from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene for a presentation. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is, good afternoon, oh my gosh, sorry, it's been a long day. It's been a very, very long day. So my name is Che No from the New York State Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. I am the assigned liaison for the Borough of Queens, so the entire borough is my jurisdiction. Currently, we are responding to this thing called COVID-19. I'm here to give you some overview and give you some information about it, and hopefully answer some questions. So this information that we have right now is current as of March 11th, today, 12:45 p.m. So my team works on this. I work on it myself. We're trying to update it as quickly as possible, but due to the rapidly changing numbers, it's kind of hard to keep up. So I'll make this quick since it's almost 9 o'clock. So I'll do a basic overview of the novel coronavirus, how the New York City is responding, how you can protect your community and our greater city, and resources. So, what was that? Okay. So what are coronaviruses? Coronaviruses are zoonotic viruses, which means they usually originate in animals. They make animals sick. For example, they make cats get colds, diarrhea, things like that. But ever so often, the virus jumps ship from an animal to a human. So in that case, we call it novel. And so far, we have about 7 to 8 strains that actually make humans sick. This is one of them. And we call it coronavirus because if you look at it through the microscope, it looks like it has a crown. So in the past, we had 2 major instances where we had zoonotic coronavirus outbreaks. Back in 2003, we had the South Asian respiratory syndrome. In 2003, over 8,000 cases started in China from civet cats. No cases since 2004, thank goodness. In 2012, we had the Middle East respiratory syndrome, and we had 2,400 cases globally. It still continues to infect humans, but it's not as bad as before. That's also a good thing. And now we have the novel coronavirus. So what is a novel coronavirus? So it's a respiratory disease that began in Wuhan, China, in the Hubei province. It was identified in December 2019, originated from animals, like I said before, zoonotic, and infected humans who came in contact at a live animal market in Wuhan. And the scientists, when they first saw it, they're like, what is this? So they tested it, did the research, and it was new, so they called it novel coronavirus. And now we call it COVID-19. And the symptoms range from fever, cough, or shortness of breath. And the incubation period is about 2 to 14 days after exposure. That's what we're seeing from the current cases that we have, about 100-something thousand. In severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, respiratory issues, kidney failure, and death. And unfortunately, since this is a new virus that we discovered, we don't have any vaccines or treatment available. Right now, pharmaceutical companies are actually pushing the pedal, so research and development is going really quickly, and hopefully we'll have something. How is it transmitted? So we're still trying to figure this thing out. But what we know from current cases is that they can be transmitted from one person to another. And when the person is most symptomatic, when they're coughing a lot, sneezing a lot, having a huge, very, very hot fever, they're the sickest. And some spread may occur if the person does not exhibit symptoms. We call that asymptomatic. That happens ever so often. But from the cases we've seen so far, they're likely to be spread person to person who are in close contact within 6 feet through respiratory droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes. And unfortunately, I don't know how you see it, but it's declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization today. We have about 121,000 confirmed cases. More than 100 countries have at least one confirmed case. It's worldwide. We have 4,300 deaths, and globally, mostly with adults with underlying health conditions. So you can see that over here. China has the largest cases, followed by Italy, which caught up really quickly. And then we have Iran, South Korea, and France and Germany. You can see that here. And the United States on the right side with 1,039 as of March 11th. Bound to go up. So, like I said before, this slide was updated earlier today. We have 53 cases in New York City now. We have over 1,000 cases worldwide with Washington has the largest number of cases, then it's New York State, then followed by California and other states. Oh, this is nice. Thank you. So what's going on? Our President Donald J. Trump, Mr. Trump, nominated Mr. Pence as the leader of this novel coronavirus task force to lead the American response. It's actually under the National Security Council. That's pretty. That means that it's a big issue. So CDC developed a rapid test, and they issued travel warnings. Level 3, which is avoid all non-essential travel to China, Italy, Iran, and South Korea. He's going to have a press conference at 9 o'clock. We'll see what happens. And level 2, practice enhanced precautions in Japan. Basically, what CDC says is that if the country has level 2 or higher, people with pre-existing conditions shouldn't go there. And what we're doing with returning travelers is that for foreign nationals who visited China or Iran in the past 14 days may not enter the U.S. They actually get turned back at the airport. Green card holders and family of American citizens and green card holders are allowed entry. And New Yorkers who return from China, Iran, Italy, South Korea, or Japan are being asked to stay at home for 14 days, where we tell them, don't go to work, don't go to school, don't go outside, stay home. So right now, the New York City is identifying people who may have been exposed to the virus. We investigate and we inform community groups like yours and providers. So we're conducting enhanced surveillance. We're not snooping on phones. We're actually looking at different cases. We're also implementing federal monitoring requirements, which happen to change ever so often. We're educating the public. We're providing guidance to healthcare providers. And we have good news. We can test at the public health laboratory. So that's good. What you can do to help us, please stay informed, prevent stigma and discrimination, and we're going to teach you how to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. Stay informed. A lot of fake news going around. So please visit our website, nyc.gov/health and cdc.gov. Our site's probably going to be easy to use. We're pushing all sorts of guidance for business owners, students, college students, New York City employees, where we have all sorts of guidance. So there's a lot of fake news going on, like I said before, and it happens to encourage stigma against a certain population. So you're going to see a rise in hate crimes for people wearing masks or people being who they are, and that's based on stigma. And like I said before, misinformation and rumors cause fear, bullying, derogatory comments, unfounded exclusion from work and school. Let me give you an example. So a dog, the owner and the dog went to China, and they came back. And the owner wanted to send the dog to a puppy daycare. The puppy daycare said, oh, your dog's been to China, so you can't come because it may have the coronavirus. And the dog got shunned. And we have various reports of bullying in schools because their family members are reported to have traveled to different countries. That is not good. And we have heard of people being excluded from work and school because they traveled overseas. And singling out people like that, it causes distrust. We're all in this together because we're trying to keep our city safe, and it causes a lot of trouble, and we're trying to prevent that. So do not harass or discriminate people against people who wear face masks. People wear face masks for a variety of reasons. You don't need to report anyone that you think may be infected. We're getting a lot of complaints. We're getting a lot of calls through 311 saying that, oh, my neighbor traveled overseas, therefore he may have the coronavirus. No, it doesn't work like that. We're keeping an eye on people. It's illegal to discriminate, like I said before. If you feel that you're being harassed due to your race, nation of origin, or other identities, please report this to 311 and say human rights. We investigate claims and we can impose fines. What can you do to protect yourself from COVID-19? This is the important part, actually. So wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. We suggest you to actually wash your hands often compared to using the sanitizer because the alcohol-based hand sanitizer is just a stopgap because you're not close to a sink. We're asking people to not shake hands, unfortunately. So you bump elbows, you wave, or you do whatever to avoid bodily contact. Don't touch your face with unwashed hands. So you touch a surface in the subway or in the bus and then you touch your face with it, that's how you get sick. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. If you're coughing and sneezing, sneeze into a tissue or into your sleeve. Don't do it on your hands because you're going to be touching something with it. And also get the flu vaccine and monitor your health closely for fever and cough. This is our poster with the person covering his nose and mouth with tissue, sneezing into the elbow, and doing such and such. So the precautions we have are for older adults and people with chronic conditions such as lung disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, or a weakened immune system. We ask them to, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Please.
Yes, so should avoid unnecessary gatherings and events. People who feel sick should not visit family or friends who have one of these conditions. And if you're feeling sick, please don't visit family in nursing homes or hospitals. If you are feeling sick, work from home if possible. Avoid crowded trains or buses. Wait for the next one. I came to work late today, but I got into an empty train, so that's good. This is the new campaign that we're giving out. We're introducing this to television, internet media, and so forth. I have a couple copies here on the side. Nice purple posters giving you easy guidance on what to do. At this time, you don't need to wear a face mask. You only need to wear it if your medical provider tells you to, because masks are for sick people. Who should seek medical care? If you're feeling sick, if you're coughing, having shortness of breath, if you have a fever, sore throat, if you don't feel better than 24 to 48 hours, seek medical care from your doctor. But here's the thing: please call your doctor first. Don't knock on his door or her door and say, "Listen, Dr. So-and-so, I'm feeling sick," and you cough into his face. Please don't do that. Only visit an emergency department if you're very, very sick. So for some of our neighbors, they may not have a doctor, they may not have insurance, they may be in a difficult situation. The New York City Health and Hospitals facilities, they're prepared, and we're, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of status, we don't ask you questions, we're ready to treat. So if you have any questions, please call 311 and ask for medical care. And let's see, here are resources. And if you have any questions after this, please call 311 and say coronavirus, and you'll be connected with an operator that can help. And that's it. Any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes, please.
So I have a good friend that was skiing in the Alps, the Italian Alps.
Yes.
Came home and experienced some of the symptoms. His doctor told him to quarantine himself at home, and then it got progressively worse. So we made sure he got an ambulance and went to the hospital.
Yes.
There's only two ways you could go if you have these symptoms: is bring yourself to the emergency room or call an ambulance. No one else will be able to transport you. So my question is, he's been tested, but they haven't gotten the results. They said it takes 72 hours. If he does test positive, and he's in for treatment,
yes,
whatever it is, because there is no treatment,
right,
and he returns home,
yes,
how does he get his home cleaned?
So the standard cleaning procedures are very, very similar to influenza, and it's not like tuberculosis or measles where if someone coughs or sneezes, the particles don't stay in the air. For tuberculosis and measles, they stay in the air for hours upon hours. This is a droplet-based transmission, so basically it stays in your saliva and your mucus, the excretions that come out from your mouth and your nose. So when you sneeze, what happens? That water either lands on the surface or lands on the ground. And when it's on the ground, it stays alive for some time, and then it dies. And by the time your friend comes home, the virus it's probably dead. But just to make sure, he should use a bleach solution or any other disinfectant that he normally uses to clean the surface of the house, surface of the doors and everything, and he should be okay.
He wouldn't expose himself to it again?
No.
Okay. That was the question. Somebody else? Kathy?
Yes.
Microphone on.
Now it is. I was looking at the list of schools, private schools that have been closed, and 20 or 30 schools here in New York City alone are closed. And who makes the decision to close the public schools, and where are we with that?
So public schools is a tricky decision because right now the mayor and the chancellor said that closing the schools is the last option, is the final option, because New York City Public Schools serve as a shelter, serve as a place where children can actually learn, but they can also get food. Some schools provide for laundry services. About 750,000 students in the New York City school system are considered under poverty conditions. So if we do that, then the parents would have to stay home and they can't make a living, so it would lead to lost wages. But in 2009, we conducted shutdowns of several schools due to transmission. In 2009, we had the H1N1 influenza. So it's too early to tell. I mean, the people upstairs above my above my pay grade, they're coming up with a plan. Maybe I'll be read into it if the situation really escalates to that point. But regardless, we will keep your office and other community partners in the loop as well as elected officials.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Incubation period.
Yes, sir.
How long is that?
Incubation period ranges from 2 days to 14 days, depending on the immune system of the individual.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Of course, my pleasure.
Okay, so we'll continue with my report. Introduce David Russell and Benjamin Fogg. David's from the Queens Chronicle, and Benjamin is from the Queens Ledger. Thank you for being here. And we have a student watching us today, and I can't read what you wrote, so I'm sorry. I can't recognize your name. Okay. A little housekeeping before I get to the report. Building demolition and construction notices, nothing in Glendale, nothing in Maspeth. 6920 Juniper Valley Road, Middle Village is a garage, nothing in Ridgewood. Liquor, wine, and beer license applications and renewals, new liquor license. You heard from Table 142 LLC at 6838 Forest Avenue, storefront D. Fumo Hookah Lounge Corp., 6628 Forest Avenue, Ridgewood. La Casita Mexicana, Inc., doing business as they don't have one, 6236 Forest Avenue, Ridgewood. Liquor license renewals, 1563 Decatur Cafe, LLC, doing business as Houdini Kitchen Laboratory, 1563 Decatur Street, Ridgewood. Great Pizza. Bermeo Food Corporation, doing business as El Manaba Restaurant, 341 St. Nicholas Avenue, Ridgewood. The Avenue Restaurant Bar and Grill, 7122 Myrtle Avenue, Glendale. DMI, Inc., doing business as a Knockdown Center, 5219 Flushing Avenue, Maspeth. 861 La Rubia Restaurant Corporation, 861 Wyckoff Avenue. No new wine and beer licenses. Wine and beer license renewals. Tendo Sushi, Inc., 6626 Fresh Pond Road. We have minutes. They're pretty thick. There's a lot in there. What's your pleasure on the minutes? Kathy Massey, seconded by Walter Clayton. All in favor? Okay. The executive committee met earlier this evening. We received a revised, up-to-date festival event for Fresh Pond Road from Michael Hyatt of Metro Meteor Festivals, Inc. The revised event is the Fresh Pond Road Street Festival. The setup date is 9/3/2020 at noon. The event start 9/4/2020, 5:30. It will operate 9/5, 5:30 to 10, and 9/6 from noon, I believe it's noon to 10, and it will break down after 10 p.m. on the 6th. The committee met, reviewed it, and we have no position on the matter. Walter.
I'd like to make
Could you wait till after yeah. It should come under, I think, new business, right? Or old business, whatever. All right? A reminder, Queens, Brooklyn, and New York Public Libraries, as of the 13th of this month, will suspend all programs, events, classes, and workshops till further notice. Our next board meeting, because of the religious holidays, will be Tuesday, April 7th. Okay? Because this place is closed and we don't meet on Jewish holidays. You know what? I guess I will take your motion, Walter. Walter Sanchez.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. The executive committee, I believe, was 4-4. We vote four in favor, 4 against the application. So I'd like to make a motion about this festival that we have no objection to the festival. The motion is that we have no objection to the festival as amended. And, you know, in speaking for that, I was at the festival. They've run it without problems, without issues, without police issues, without calls to the community board. There are 2 ways to get up and down, Forest and Traffic, as was explained earlier, the 60th Lane. As was explained earlier, and you know we've spoken about this before. They've run it for dozens of years, at least a dozen years, and they have given back to the community. It's a wonderful festival. People are happy. We closed down Fresh Pond Road for 4 days, and I think that we should have no objection to this festival.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, 2 Walters. On the question. Anyone on the question? If there's no question, you want to read from the bottom up so I don't influence anybody? I know.
All right, so Michaeline Von Drathen. Patrick Trinchesi. Dennis Steffen. Walter Sanchez. Luis Rodriguez. Ted Renz. Mike Porcelli. Don Passantino. Michael O'Kane. Peggy O'Kane. Eileen Maloney.
4.
Kathy Massey.
4.
Edgar Mantell. John Meyer. Ed Latow. Marianne Latanzio. Paul Kersner. Rich Huber.
4.
Steve Fiedler.
4.
Dmytro Fitkowski.
4.
Jerry Drake. Brian Dooley.
4.
Pat Crowley.
4.
Walter Clayton.
4.
Bob Chimelli.
4.
Tony Benanti.
4.
Mr. Arcuri.
4.
While he's doing the count, is there anything you have or questions or comments for the chair? Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, the vote is 16 in favor of the proposed 4-day street festival on Fresh Pond Road, 11 against. No abstentions, none not voting.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Gary Giordano, our district manager, for his report.
I will be brief. Thank you. Yeah. But as far as this coronavirus goes, the spread of it is much more quick than I could have imagined. So it's, I think, an example of let's not take things lightly when it didn't seem like much here in the beginning. And I wanted to thank Jessica for being here from the mayor's office. They've given us a lot of good updates as far as where the situation is at any point in time. So they've been right on top of this. As far as I can see, I don't agree with the mayor with everything, but on this, I think they've been very good, as has the health department. And I wish that nationally we were as on the ball as we seem to be in New York City. A couple of other things on a, maybe I wouldn't say a lighter note, but maybe a more positive note. So we have a new sanitation super. His name is William Miley. He replaced Charles Smiler, who was also excellent, as our sanitation super. Came in to see us right away, and I've seen conditions getting better and better at a lot of the worst dump out locations. Finally, maybe the sewer project and the water main project is coming to a conclusion in that Penelope Avenue, 74th Street area that we've been talking about for so long, where there was a big delay because of toxic soil found in a portion of that project, and they had to increase the budget by $8 million. And so they're starting to do the curb and sidewalk work on 74th Street beginning, I think, Monday. Big problem we have citywide is crime is up significantly. And more significantly than it has been in my memory at one time. How much of this is due to not just what's happening with bail reform, but the message that I think it may have sent to people not looking to do the right thing or looking to do criminal activity may be a bigger part of the problem than actually people not being held on bail to the extent that they were. That message that it sends. Stephen Feeler's got some report with regard to the Parks Committee and Star Playground. The Library Committee is going to meet on Monday at the Ridgewood Library, and the Public Safety Committee is going to meet at the board office on Monday. Any questions? Okay. I thank you. Thank you for being here, and please, let's stay healthy. Take good care.
Thank you. The first committee to report is Parks. Steve, you have a report.
So we met the other night. Parks Department came down and gave us a presentation for $2.3 million Phase 2 of Star Park, which would be spray shower. Which park? Star Park. Down on the Duncan Star. What? Star on Irving? Okay.
In Ridgewood, on the Dunk.
Star and on the Dunk. Spray shower, play area, seating areas, a very nice layout. We had some input from the people who live around the park, asking for different items. Another slide for them. Remember, it's a very tight area, and they also have trees that they can't touch. So it was a pretty good presentation, and everybody on the board liked what they saw. Right, Ken?
I think so.
I think so. The only other thing, I got a letter back from Kip Stein, who is in charge of NRG, who'll be doing the $2.3 million removal of invasive species in 1 and 3, to reiterate that we do not want any heavy equipment, bobcats or anything like that in the basement. If the contractor suggests anything to him, about bringing in a bobcat or a steerer to take down the invasive species. They will check with their project manager, and they will get back to this board and the Parks Committee to see if we would agree to it or not. We will not agree to it.
What about Relay for Life?
Relay for Life right now is trying to find a destination, okay? They wanted to put it down below on the 4 fields, and they said that it's too difficult to deal with all the permit holders for 2 days. They wanted to go up to the little park, and there's going to be construction up there soon for a memorial garden for Tom Ognabeni, so that canceled that, so they're offering them Elmhurst Park, and I believe there's a few other things in the work right now, but there's no destination yet for Relay for Life at Juniper Valley this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's just the tip of the iceberg, as we predicted once we started rehabilitation of Juniper Track and Field, that we'd have problems. Public transit services, John? Are you going to do both, transportation and public?
Do you want to do it?
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't going to keep people too long. I was just going to say our meeting was here on the 25th of February. It was a presentation from the folks at New York City Transit that are doing the bus redesign. It was informative. We were able to voice a number of concerns we have with their current approach. We feel that we were heard, but we are going to be meeting again at the end of this month on the 31st, which we're going to have a moment to speak to the Wyckoff Avenue project, but we are going to start to formulate our response back to them because we would like to get them our comments by April. When they're hoping to collect people's comments. As the council member said, they had another workshop here just last night. They are having ongoing meetings with elected officials, community organizations. There is an active website that people can put their thoughts and ideas into, and I recommend you do that, even if we catch what you're trying to say, because you've already told us one of the things that we need to say to them. It doesn't hurt to have them hear it multiple times. The more we can repeat it, the better for us. And we did lose a lot of residential service in this community board, and they need to hear that, and they need to do something to address that. On that note, if you just basically put in a search engine, Queens Bus Redesign MTA, you're going to get their website. I'm not going to try to give you a URL that I might get wrong, but that's how I find it. I just do Queens Bus Route Redesign. Yes, they have some very interactive maps.
You need to be recognized by the chair instead of speaking out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the website has the whole plan. They have multi-page kind of presentations on each of the proposed lines, as well as 2 maps, interactive maps that you can kind of manipulate. You can turn everything off and turn on the lines that you're interested in looking at. It has some rough estimates of what they're looking at headways and where those routes fall. And there's one for the express routes, and there's one for the local routes.
And we also
There's a
looked
question
at
to our right.
traffic safety request and discuss those. Walter Sanchez.
A group of people from Maspeth.
Microphone, please.
A group of people from Maspeth above Principe Park on 54th Avenue came and asked for a one-way. What were you guys looking into that? What's happening with that?
That was 54th?
Yeah.
54th Avenue.
There's multiple requests in that area. Gary, take the microphone, please.
We are asking for an area-wide study because I think a lot of the committee members felt that there was no easy solution over there.
And plus, there were other requests in the area. I just had one today that we looked at that came in. So,
can I also just throw in, we're one of our committee members who lives in that area is also going to look at some of it. But our recommendation, first off, was for the board to request an area-wide study for that area.
Okay, and I live on that block too, so.
oh, okay. Take a look at it then.
What do you think?
Okay. Any other committees that I failed to recognize? Okay. Any old business? We took care of you, right? And any new business?
Any?
Yes. Walter?
Any word on the Amazon moving into? They're moving in. Well, any more information? What is it going to be? Any information you can elaborate?
Mr. Giordano, go ahead.
So what we know at this point is that they signed a lease to utilize the space that was Toys R Us and Kmart, the Kmart being the much bigger space, and another space that's adjacent to that I think was a storage site for the Museum of Modern Art. I think it's 300,000 square feet. I'm not sure at this stage with regard to timetable, but as far as them moving in.
It would be a typical material in, sorting, and distribution.
Yeah. Correction.
So the question, I don't know if you got that, John. The question is, when we reviewed the prior request for that property to allow them to put in loading docks on the east end, we don't know if that's necessary for Amazon, and we're going to probably try and meet with them. John?
Can I just correct something that Gary said? It was actually the Metropolitan Museum had their catalog warehouse. So they were basically receiving merchandise for the store at the main museum, as well as shipping stuff out for orders at one time. That space is what's been consumed next to the Toys R Us and the Kmart space. And with that, it actually gives them quite a few truck slots. Yeah. So they might not need to do anything with the other side. And let's hope that's the case.
That's correct. If you know how warehousing and shipping works, you come in with the raw product, you offload that, it goes through distribution and handling, and then it gets to a shipping. And Amazon has gone to franchise. You see the little Prime trucks? Most of those are now franchisees. So if those are the ones that are going to be delivering, they don't need a massive loading dock because they don't have a high-end tail. So they should be able to pull in and pull out. So
yeah, it's going to be the beehive for all those Prime vans, very likely, for our area.
A lot of people are worried about the traffic. That's why.
Well, I think besides the front loading docks on Metropolitan Avenue, I believe that on the lower level, just near the furniture store, there was some lifts, loading docks with an elevator in there. So if you remember going into, what was it, the store on the left, not Toys R Us.
I believe the facility
Kmart had an elevator that went down because that's how Kmart got their product. That's how they got their product up to the first floor. They had the two loading docks in the bottom.
No, they used loading docks behind Toys R Us and brought it around the back of Toys R Us, like behind it, within the structure. The structure is built so the top floor is not connected to the lower level in any way, shape, or form.
It's an elevator. The elevator goes up to the parking deck. Yep. Okay. All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Anything else? Nope. So, yes. Microphone. It doesn't work without a microphone.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing. With the coronavirus and all that stuff, a lot of organizations taking a lot of precautions, and what's happening is a lot of events are being canceled and that kind of thing. So I heard today that, some of these St. Baldrick's events were canceled and a bunch of other charity events were canceled. So just if the board members keep that in mind, that if your favorite charities or your local charities are forced to cancel events, still give to them. I mean, because they're going to be hurting when they don't have some of these annual events. They only come once a year and they're big money makers. So keep that in mind. Please write a check, mail it to them, and I think it'll help keep these organizations going.
And since they canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade, I will make a real effort to support the local pubs.
I second that.
Just make sure you drink greater than 50 proof.
Any other business?
100 proof, 100 proof.
Any other business to come before us? Motion to adjourn? Walter, seconded. Dimitro, all in favor? Thank you. Stay healthy.
I do hope the media got that quote.
She's got some shopping bags. Hold that up. They look like